Live from New Delhi, you're watching TT India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Nipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. President Draupadi Murmu to hold talks with the President of Botswana, Duma Gideon Boko, Chitaha diplomacy, bilateral ties on agenda. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates Kalachakra Wheel of Time, empowerment with Bhutanese King and His Majesty the 4th Druk Gyalpo, fostering spiritual and cultural bond between India and Bhutan. Kulgam police conducts raids at over 200 Jamaat-e-Islami locations. Another doctor, Tajamul Malik, detained in Srinagar in connection with the Delhi bomb blast. India reaffirms commitment to equity, climate justice and multilateralism at COP30, underlines that climate finance continues to be the key barrier to raised ambition, calls for equitable access to climate technologies. And on to the details now. President Draupadi Murmu is on a 3-day visit to Botswana, where she will hold delegation-level talks with her counterpart Duma Boko. The talks will be followed by signing or exchange of MOUs and press statements. The president will then visit the diamond trading company for a briefing on the diamond sector. Now, traditionally, the trade between the two countries has been dominated by diamonds and gems. She will then deliver the address to the National Assembly of Botswana, followed by a visit to 3 Dikosi Monument bronze sculpture in the capital city of Gaborone. The statues depict 3 Dikosi or tribal chiefs who played important roles in Botswana's independence. The visit will be followed by a banquet. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi, on the second day and the final day of his state visit to Bhutan, had the honour of inaugurating Kalachakra Wheel of Time, empowerment with King of Bhutan, Jigme Khesar Namgyel Wangchuk, and His Majesty the 4th Druk Gyalpo. It was presided over by His Holiness the J. Khenpo, which made it even more special. This is an important ritual with great cultural significance for Buddhists around the world. Well, the Kalachakra empowerment is a part of the ongoing Global Peace Prayer Festival, which has brought together devotees and scholars of Buddhism to Bhutan. Bhutanese Prime Minister Sherem Tokbe, on his part, called Prime Minister Modi an accomplished spiritual master who inaugurated and blessed the sacred Kalachakra empowerment. Well, earlier, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a wonderful meeting with His Majesty the 4th Druk Gyalpo. Prime Minister appreciated his extensive efforts over the years towards further cementing India-Bhutan ties. The two sides discussed cooperation in energy, trade, technology and connectivity. Prime Minister Modi also lauded the progress in the Gelifu Mindfulness City project, which aligns with India's Act East policy. And after these significant engagements, Prime Minister Modi left for New Delhi after concluding a productive state visit to Bhutan. In a special gesture, Bhutanese King came to see off Prime Minister Modi at the airport. Now, this visit will further deepen the bilateral friendship and advance cooperation in various areas between the two countries. And External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is visiting Canada today to participate in the G7 Foreign Ministers meet, on the sidelines of which he held bilateral meetings with his counterparts, including Canadian Minister of Foreign Affairs Anita Anand. Jaishankar congratulated her on hosting the G7 Foreign Ministers meeting and appreciated the progress and implementation of the new roadmap 2025. Dr. Jaishankar said that he looks forward to further rebuilding a bilateral partnership between India and Canada. The minister also met again with Premier of the Canadian province, Saskatchewan, Scott Mead. The two leaders discussed opportunities to enhance cooperation in energy, food and fertilizer. Well, Dr. Jaishankar said he values his warm sentiments towards the relationship. And earlier, the External Affairs Minister also held bilateral meetings with his counterparts from UK, Germany, Brazil, France, South Africa and Mexico. The visit reflects India's continued commitment to working with international partners in addressing global challenges and fostering the voice of the Global South in international forums. And India slammed Pakistan for claiming that New Delhi had something to do with the Tuesday's blast outside a court in Islamabad. The Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal in a statement said, and I quote, "India unequivocally rejects the baseless and unfounded allegations being made by an obviously deleterious Pakistani leadership. It is a predictable tactic by Pakistan to concoct false narratives against India in order to deflect the attention of its own public from the ongoing military-inspired constitutional subversion and power grab unfolding within the country. The international community is well aware of the reality and will not be misled by Pakistan's desperate diversionary ploys." And in one of the largest coordinated operations in recent years, police in South and North Kashmir have raided more than 225 locations linked to the banned Jamaat-e-Islami. Now, the crackdown carried out in Kulgam and Supor districts is part of a wider campaign to dismantle the terrorist and separatist support networks. During the past 4 days, around 400 cordon and search operations have been launched across the district, focusing on areas once associated with terrorist activity and overground workers. Nearly 500 individuals with suspected links to banned organizations such as JAL and JKNOPs have been interrogated, with many detained under preventive laws and shifted to district jail Matan in Anantnag. Well, also, police seized incriminating documents, digital devices and other materials of evidentiary value. In a related development, another doctor, Tajammul Malik from DH Pora, Kulgam, was detained in Srinagar in connection with the Delhi bomb blast. And the second and the last phase of Bihar elections concluded on Tuesday, recording a voter turnout of 66.91%, which is the highest since first Bihar elections in 1951. Now, notably, the turnout in the first phase of election was 60.18%. On Tuesday, polling was held on 122 constituencies in 20 districts. 1,302 candidates were in the fray. Counting of votes will take place on the 14th of November. And moving on, India on Tuesday reaffirmed its firm commitment to multilateralism and equity in global climate action at the opening plenary of the UNFCCC COP30 in Belém, Brazil, delivering statements on behalf of the basic group, including Brazil, South Africa, India and China, and the like-minded developing countries group. India emphasized that Article 9.1 of the Paris Agreement places a binding responsibility on the developed countries to provide financial resources to the developing nations. That said, adaptation finance must increase 15-fold to meet the needs of billions of vulnerable people who have contributed the least to global warming. India reminded the developed countries of their historical and ongoing responsibilities, urging them to reach net zero earlier, invest in negative emissions technologies, and meet their long-standing finance and technology commitments. Well, November 12th marks the birth anniversary of one of India's greatest naturalists, Dr. Salim Ali, the birdman of India. His passion for birds transformed how India saw its skies and its wildlife. Here's a look at his remarkable journey.
Born in 1896 in Bombay, Dr. Salim Ali's love for birds began with a childhood curiosity, a sparrow with a yellow patch. When he took it to the Bombay Natural History Society, a chance meeting with W.S. Millard opened the world of ornithology to him, and India would never look back.
He had immense contribution towards this subject, ornithology, and he took this up right into his teens. In fact, he was a keen bird watcher, and then he got trained in systematic ornithology and different aspects of this subject. Then he started working with BNHS, that is Bombay Natural History Society. While working with this organization, he did lot of surveys, bird surveys across the length and breadth of India. So he collected first-hand information on the birds of India.
The first Indian to study birds systematically, Dr. Ali spent 6 decades documenting India's avian wealth. Trained in Germany under famed ornithologist Professor Stresemann, he returned home to find no job, so he created his own, offering to conduct bird surveys across India's princely states. After independence, he revived the Bombay Natural History Society. His efforts helped protect sanctuaries like Kuladio in Rajasthan and Silent Valley in Kerala. Honored with Padma Shri, Padma Vibhushan and global recognitions, Dr. Ali became the face of Indian ornithology. Dr. Ali passed away in 1987 at the age of 91, leaving behind a priceless legacy. His research and writings, especially the Book of Indian Birds, continue to guide generations. Dr. Ali didn't just teach India to watch birds, he taught us to understand and protect them. Meghna Dev's report for DD India.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. In Sivakasi, the Sachipuram railway overbridge has been inaugurated, bringing major relief to road users facing long traffic jams. The 850-meter bridge completed 3 months ahead of schedule. The inauguration concluded with spectacular fireworks display lighting up the night sky. Udaipur will host the National Workshop on Agriculture and Livestock Entrepreneurship from November 11 to 13th. The event, organized by State Rajivika and Rural Development Ministry, aims to boost sustainable rural livelihoods and promote women-led agri-business models in state. Odisha hosted first ever Mahanadi Boita Pratiyogita 2025 in Cuttack. The event celebrated the state's rich maritime heritage, with the flyboat race emerging as the main highlight and drawing huge public attention. In Jaisalmer, the Indian Army's Southern Command conducted exercise Marujwala under the ongoing Tri-Services Drill Trishul. The exercise showcased joint coordination and operational readiness. Lieutenant General Dheeraj Seth led the operation. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. Foreseeing a potential end to the shutdown, US Supreme Court extends the freeze on the SNAP food program in November. India clinched 2 more silver medals at the Shooting World Championship in Egypt.
This week on Defence Dynamic, we decode why for India a unified rocket force is no longer an option but a strategic necessity, which Asian navies are redefining the undersea power balance in the Indian Ocean, and why Pakistan's Hangoor class submarine may not be the game changer it's claimed to be. We break down India's engine dream as Defence Minister calls to build jet engines in India by Indians and on Indian soil. And in my take, how the Russia-Iran railway corridor is redrawing the map of Eurasian geopolitics. Catch the sharpest insights on power, posture and strategy this Wednesday at 8 PM IST only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Vipakshi Khurana, and moving on, US House of Representatives is expected to vote on Wednesday on a Senate-passed funding bill to reopen the government. Now, the final legislation extends funding for most agencies until January 30th, while including 3 full-year funding bills for some parts of the government. House Republicans are confident that the package will clear the lower chamber. President Donald Trump is expected to sign it into law. Also, the Senate approved the deal on Monday night, and House Speaker Mike Johnson has said he expects it to pass his chamber as well. Meanwhile, members of the House of Representatives headed back to Washington on Tuesday after a 53-day break, braving the congestion at the nation's tangled airports for a vote that could bring the longest U.S. government shutdown in history to a close. With nearly 1,200 flights cancelled on Tuesday due to the shutdown, lawmakers, including Republican representatives Rick Crawford of Arkansas and Trent Kelly of Mississippi, said they were carpooling to the Capitol, while Representative Derek Van Orden said he was making the 16-hour drive from Wisconsin on his motorcycle. Well, with the potential end to the government shutdown in sight, the U.S. Supreme Court on Tuesday extended a freeze on the federal judge's ruling that would require the Trump administration to fully fund the SNAP food program in November. Well, the decision means that the government for now does not have to distribute about $4 billion in additional SNAP funding as required by Rhode Island-based U.S. District Judge John McConnell. The Supreme Court block remains in place until midnight on Thursday. The case would likely become moot if the shutdown ends, as the bipartisan bill to reopen the government would fully fund the SNAP program through September of next year. The House is expected to vote tomorrow on the Senate-passed measure to end the record-long shutdown. Now, nearly 42 million people rely on the federal Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as food stamps. And a U.S. aircraft carrier strike group, Gerald Ford, has moved into the Latin America region, escalating a military buildup that has deepened tensions with Venezuela. The arrival of the strike group, which was ordered to the region by President Donald Trump last month, comes amid ongoing strikes against alleged drug boats and tensions with Venezuela. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has repeatedly alleged that the U.S. buildup is designed to drive him from power. The U.S. has so far carried out at least 19 strikes against boats in the Caribbean and the Eastern Pacific. The Ford, which was commissioned in 2017, is the United States' newest aircraft carrier and the world's largest, with more than 500 sailors aboard. And Venezuela's National Assembly approved a new law establishing an integral defense command of the nation on Tuesday. The legislation, which passed its second reading, was originally proposed by President Nicolas Maduro and Defense Minister Vladimir Vladrino Lopez and had received unanimous approval in its first reading on the October 10th. During the session, President George Rodriguez accused the United States of military threats and attempting regime change to seize the country's natural resources, including oil, rare earths, and precious minerals. Now, the law, comprising 3 titles and 35 articles, establishes shared responsibility between the state and all Venezuelan citizens for defending against internal and external threats. Members of Venezuela's armed forces attended the session as special guests, witnessing the approval of legislation. And UN officials have warned that South Sudan's humanitarian crisis could reach catastrophic levels if international support wanes as violence and displacement surges across the country. Now, the UN Women Executive Director, Seema Bahous, and said that South Sudan's path to peace and development is beset by political instability and humanitarian crisis. She noted that more than 1.2 million people have crossed into the country from Sudan since 2023. Also, UN Peacekeeping Chief John Lacroix described the humanitarian situation as catastrophic, with 7.5 million people facing acute food insecurity and flooding displacing over 1 million. South Sudan's UN Ambassador Cecilia Adout-Majok Edeng defended recent government reforms and reaffirmed her government's commitment to the peace process and the permanent ceasefire. Well, the vote counting began on Tuesday following the conclusion of the two-day in-country voting for the first phase of Egypt's parliamentary elections. Egypt concluded the first phase of voting in its parliamentary elections, which covered nearly half the country's provinces. Now, total of 1,281 candidates competed in the first phase of the polls, whose results are expected to be announced on November 18th. The second phase of voting for Egyptians abroad will be held on November 21st and 22nd, and inside Egypt on November 24th and 25th, with the final results to be announced on December 2nd. According to the National Elections Authority, Egypt, a country of 108 million, has about 69 million registered voters. And Iraqis voted in parliamentary elections on Tuesday, in which Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani was seeking a second term. Polling closed with low turnout, marked by tight security and a boycott by a major political bloc. Turnout in Iraq's 6th parliamentary election reached just over 23% as of midday. Preliminary results were due to be announced during the next 48 hours, with the final outcome expected next week. Now, Sudani's bloc was forecast to win the most seats but fall short of a majority, potentially meaning months of post-election talks among the Shiite and Sunni Muslim as well as Kurdish parties. And India and Sri Lanka have come together to celebrate the Sanskrit as a shared civilizational legacy at the week-long Bharat-Sri Lanka Sanskrit Mahotsav in Colombo. Now, the Bharat-Sri Lanka Sanskrit Mahotsav was inaugurated at the University of Colombo by High Commissioner of India Santosh Jha and Sri Lanka's Deputy Minister of Education and Higher Education, Dr. Madhura Seneviratne. The week-long festival celebrates Sanskrit as the timeless language of wisdom, harmony and knowledge. Jointly organized by the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Centre, Sri Lanka's Ministry of Education, the Central Sanskrit University and the India-Sri Lanka Foundation. The festival includes workshops, lectures and cultural performances, highlighting Sanskrit's living influence across generations. High Commissioner Santosh Jha emphasized Sanskrit's role in strengthening cultural and educational ties between India and Sri Lanka.
Sanskrit functioned as a vital link connecting India and Sri Lanka through shared religious, philosophical and artistic traditions. Let us remember that Sanskrit is not merely a language of the past, but a timeless voice of wisdom that continues to guide our present and inspire our future.
Well, Sri Lanka Minister Dr. Seneviratne highlighted that Sanskrit is an ancient link between global philosophy, language and wisdom.
Sanskrit language forms an ancient integral part of this shared heritage. Sanskrit is a bridge between globally for philosophy, linguistics and the wisdom.
And on to some sports news now. India clinched 2 more silver medals at the Shooting World Championship in Egypt. Pair of Samrat Rana and Isha Singh won silver medal in the 10-meter air pistol mixed team event in Cairo. The Indian duo topped the qualification round and set up a gold medal match against China. However, they had to settle for second best in the medal match as they lost 16 points to 10. Meanwhile, Aishwari Pratap Singh Tomar also claimed a silver medal in the men's 50-meter rifle 3-position event. Earlier in the day, he equaled the qualification world record. The 2 medals took India's overall tally to 11, including 3 gold, 5 silver and 3 bronze. Only China with 14 medals is ahead in the standings. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.